Hello. You are listening to the Carroll Connection with your host, Jared Carroll.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Carroll Connection. I'm your host, Jared Carroll, here to bring you guys another great episode. I did want to take a chance to shout my last episode, episode 225, my birthday reflection, year 30. So, as I do over the years, I release a birthday reflection episode, about 20 to 30 minutes, just kind of talking about my growth personally and just kind of celebrating my birthday a little bit and kind of just talking to you guys one-on-one as an audience and using it as like a journal session too to kind of like look back on the years that I've been doing it and kind of seeing how have I actually grown? So, if you guys want to check that episode out, go to the carolconnection.simplecast.com. Also, people on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the major listening platforms. If you like to watch your podcast, go on YouTube, search the Carroll Connection, or at Jared M. Carroll, and it'll pop up. And if you want to be a guest or return as a guest, hit me up on Instagram at Jared M. Carroll or at the Carroll Connection, and we'll set that up. As well as plugging the 5 pillars to creating meaningful life. You can get that on Amazon. And if you buy the book and you read it and you really like it, submit the review on Amazon. It goes a long way in the algorithm, as well as I just dropped in October for the 1 year anniversary, a hardcover anniversary edition. I updated like the author photo and added some different fonts to be the cover of it, basically. So if you guys like your books in a hardcover format, you can get that on Amazon. And it's a little bit more pricey, but it's the anniversary edition. So check that out. So that brings me to today's episode 226 with Christian, aka Ceelo.
What's going on?
Well,
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, welcome to the podcast. Excited to have you, and shout out Shane Barboza, who kind of helped me. He pointed me in your direction,
My
and
boy Shane, love him.
yeah. And he said that you'd be a great podcast guest, and I reached out to you immediately, and I was like, yeah, like have to do this. So, how I start off my podcast, I ask everyone who they are and what they're doing currently.
So, as you already heard my man say, my name is Christian, but a lot of people know me as Ceelo, and I'm a cinematographer. So, I've been shooting a lot of video content in general, but mostly weddings, and I'm kind of streaming off into doing my own content and stuff outside of that realm too.
Yeah, and that's cool. And we'll definitely dive into that aspect because I find that really interesting to switching to kind of focusing a little bit on yourself and doing that kind of content. And I know you tagged me in a reel today and about kind of teasing the podcast, and I like that too. And we'll get into that. I have some questions too because it was like 313 out of 365, like you're doing one like every single day. It seems like, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the podcast. But how I like to start off my podcast is I talk about family dynamic. And for any new listeners, I always like to kind of talk about this cliche that I use for it. And I use it on like almost every episode. But when we're talking about like your life story, I always reference like house building and like the foundation of the house is where you kind of start. And I always use that as like the comparison to like your family. And like for better or worse, I think our family is the foundation in which our life starts to build off of. And I think it's important on podcasts to kind of dive into that as we kind of chronologically like navigate towards like where you are now and why you do what you do. So with that being said, with whatever you're comfortable with sharing, I'll let you kind of take the floor with your family dynamic.
Yeah, no, honestly, growing up, I'm one of two. I have an older sister. There's a little bit of an age gap, but honestly, it was good. Both my parents, thankfully, and they always worked. So they always worked, but managed to still parent at the same time. And then having an older sister, she kind of sat in a second role of being another mother to me. So growing up wasn't too bad. Um, Nothing out of the ordinary. But definitely, I think it was one of those things where, and I say it all the time, I was definitely given the exact means that I needed to go on with life. It was never less, there was never more. It was like, hey, I got exactly what I need, do with what you got. So I think that and how my parents raised me and the help of my sister, it set a lot of foundation as to who I am as a person today.
Yeah, I really like that. And I can relate to that a lot in my own personal life. I feel like the way that like my parents and like even having like an older brother um there to kind of look up to and guide me in a way like we didn't live a luxurious life or anything like that, but we had what we needed and it was kind of like do what you can with what you got. And I think my dad created a great example when I was younger to go back to college to get the job that he eventually has now. And seeing him do that, like really changed my life because a lot of the stuff that I've been able to accomplish in my life, if he doesn't go back to college, doesn't create like certain relationships that help me launch my career too. And I see that now as I've grown up, that that impact that our parents can have on us and the situations that they create, and like the differences in like how sometimes people can be spoiled, and like how that can like really change like their personality and influence them to be certain ways. And I think it's interesting to compare, like, I don't know if you have a lot of cousins or stuff like that, but like seeing the way like my cousins were raised, and like on both sides of the family, and how different we are, but in the similarities that we share and how we were raised stems from like our grandparents and stuff like that. And I was telling you a little bit about my grandfather, and he was a very uniting figure, especially later in life, and it started bringing us all together when we see how quickly things can change and how real life can actually be. But I think that standard of living where you kind of do with what you can and what you got, I think it really shapes you to be like a well-grounded individual. And just like even some of the conversation we had off podcast, I could feel that energy off you, and like it's almost like a quiet confidence almost. And like I could really resonate with that. Like I'm kind of introverted, so like obviously I do a podcast, so it's kind of like opposite of how like I might portray myself.
That
But
helps you get out.
yeah, yeah, it's my way to socialize
Yeah,
in a controlled manner, I guess. But I think a lot of that kind of confidence within ourselves can stem from the way that our families can influence us. And I think kind of what you're saying right there was really relatable to me, at least. Kind of wanted to ask, and if you don't feel comfortable talking about this, it's fine. Uh, how big of an age gap was it? And like, how is the relationship with your sister? And is it something that was she kind of like, you mentioned like a second mother? Did it almost kind of feel like a role model too in some aspects?
so I want to say it's like a 7 or 8 year gap.
Okay, similar with my
Uh,
older brother.
so it's like there's definitely like as I was in middle school, she's in high school.
Mhm,
As I hit high school, she's in college. So it's like it's kind of hard to find those like similarities because it's like I'm hitting a certain stage of my life. She's transitioning out of that stage, hitting a new stage. So it's kind of hard finding that balance. And then she's a girl, I'm a guy.
mhm,
You know what I mean? So it's like we, she was obviously like my family. So it's like it's not like we weren't always like fully close, and like she will always admit that. We'll always admit that it's like we weren't like we're not best friends,
mhm.
and we're not going to be the ones to fake it and be like, oh my god. But like when we see each other, we have a good time. We always laugh. It's always good and it's always love. But I feel like now that she has kids, I feel like her having a family kind of helped pull us a little bit closer together, and kind of like push us because like I have nieces, I have nephews. Like now it's like I get to see how they are. So it's like that kind of brought us closer together as a family and as a brother and sister. So I think that's really cool. But yeah, like she always like fit those roles where again, like my parents worked nonstop. So she kind of had to fill in those gaps where she was cooking dinner for us. She was making sure I was good for school, or little tidbits. Like I remember there was I forget, it was like a snowstorm going on. I had no school. I didn't want to spend it at home. She's like, all right, you can come stay with me in college for like a day or two. And I was like sleeping on the floor with like sheets and stuff, and I thought it was the greatest time ever. And I was just like, all right, cool. I get to hang out in a place that I typically wouldn't get to hang out in, like little things like that, where it was cool and fun.
Yeah, I love hearing that her having a family helped bring you guys closer, and I think that is so amazing, honestly. And I think right now my brother is home with my niece and stuff like that, his daughter and his wife, and I'm excited to go see them. We're going out to dinner tomorrow with like our family and stuff, and I haven't seen them in a long time because they moved to Ohio. But I think that aspect can really of like having children and people within your family creating families like can really unite people in a way. And I think that's awesome that was able to bring you guys closer. Uh, how does it feel being an uncle? Because when I first got to like hold my niece and stuff like that when she was a baby, it was such a unique feeling. 'Cause, he's the first one to have a kid in my family. I have three brothers, and he's the oldest. So it was a new feeling. I don't even know how to explain it. It was like really cool to like have a new feeling like later in life, and obviously, hopefully, I can have children of my own one day. But describe that. Like, is that kind of like a new cool like role for you in life?
It was it's kind of like that role where it's like a lot of people like maybe I'm being weird for comparing it, but like when you fill in that father role. It's like you don't know what to do, but like you'll figure it out. So that's kind of how I felt, where it's like I'm an uncle now. I don't exactly know what to do, but I'm gonna figure it out. And it goes back to like how my family dynamic is. Like a lot of my family's back at home in Colombia. Like I have very few aunts, uncles, and cousins living in this state. And I was raised very like, yeah, like you don't leave the house. Like there's no need to leave the house. Like you go to and from school, and that's kind of it. Or if you have the only time you're leaving the house is if you have extracurricular activities.
Mhm.
So I'm playing sports, but my parents are very like, you don't need to be out on the streets. Like that's not your thing. So when my sister had, my nephew first, it was kind of like, all right, like pretty much I'm at that point where I'm like, whatever you need, I got you. But like talk to me.
Mhm.
It's like I'm not gonna guess. Like I can't like I'm trying to be the best uncle I can, but I don't know how to be that person. So it's like it's a learning curve for me in a sense where it's like I'm taking it day by day. Like I want to be the best, but I don't know how to. So it's like one of those things I'm just learning as I go.
For sure, that's real, honestly. You mentioned your family having a lot of family still in Colombia. Like, do you go back and visit at all? Have you had the opportunity to do that?
Yeah, I definitely flew a lot with my dad when I was way younger, and then I went for the first time by myself with my two cousins from Rhode Island back when I was like 18, 19, and then I hadn't been since because when I work, I just work. It's very hard for me to take vacation or like time off. Thankfully, my wife now changes that. But we recently just went to our honeymoon in Colombia, but it wasn't where I was from. So it was cool to be back in the country. But I told her, I was like, we got to go back to where I'm from, where I got family, because like she still has people to meet, and I still have to like introduce her properly to some of my family. So
It's probably cool to go back there though and like experience even like a new part of Colombia too.
yeah, it was cool because it was a part that I went to years ago, on a trip that I went with my mom and my sister, and it was cool to see it again and like get that like nostalgic feeling of like I've been here, I've seen this before, like feeling like I'm with my people, hearing like the accent alone. It was great.
Yeah, I mean that's awesome. Like I'm very big on if you're able to travel to different places and especially places where like your family originates from. Like I'm Irish and Portuguese, and a couple years ago I went to Ireland. It was like the most weird feeling of it felt like home in such a weird way. I don't even know how to explain it. Like Dublin for sure is like Boston. Like it's like a copy paste. But like just different parts of the countryside, like you're driving through and it feels right in a weird way.
I heard it's beautiful.
Oh yeah, I love Ireland. Like it's a little gloomy, but like I kind of like that in a weird way.
Yeah.
Um, and then this past summer I went to the Azores, and my mom's side of the family is originally from there. So like getting to experience that and like feel that part of the culture and like my mom's family grew up like really poor and it's part of the reason they uh, moved over. But seeing how happy her and we went with like a bunch of people and um, my aunt, her sister, seeing them too in their home country enjoying like the Azores was like so cool to see that and like have her be able to experience that because it was like a bucket list thing for her to go back there and experience that. And obviously we're in like the touristy areas for the most part, so it's not fully the same, but
Yeah.
like still nonetheless she still got to experience it. And like I think it's such an important thing to go and experience like where you're from and like reconnect with your roots because it reminds you like how far like your family and your like history goes back and like where you've come from. And I think that creates perspective and like can create appreciation because like a lot of the times like you see it on social media, people taking things for granted or like I've even seen like people putting down like having kids and like calling it selfish and all that stuff. But in some ways I'm like living in the way that people are living, you're kind of being selfish because and this is like I guess a hot take, but the perspective that I have is all the people that have come before you had to sacrifice so much just for you to do what you do. And if you can't pay that respect forward, or at least acknowledge that, if you don't want to have kids, you don't have kids, that's fine.
Yeah.
But like having that respect and appreciation for all the people that have come before you, I think is super important. And if you're able to have that like family tree or whatever or documents like showing your history and acknowledging it, I think it's super valuable to like to have that because not everyone does, and I realize that, but it makes me more appreciative to like where I'm from and like all that other stuff. So hearing you say that is like just reminds me of stuff like that. Um, hopefully get to go back soon and go see like your family out in Colombia
Oh
and do
no,
all that.
100%. It's definitely on the list. And my wife, she's Portuguese. I was able to go to Lisbon, and then we
Mhm.
stopped at Albufeira.
Mhm.
So like I feel like I felt that same experience, like seeing her being happy and being like, I'm home. It's not exactly her home, but like within the vicinity of being in her country, she felt very happy. And like again, like she said all the time, like you ain't see the real Portugal. Like I want to show you like where I'm from, like my grandparents and all that stuff. So I get that same feeling when I'm like, this was fun and all. This is Colombia. This is a part of Colombia, but this ain't the Colombia that I've seen, that I grew up to, that where I'm from, my family's from, and vice versa. So it's cool to like visit different parts of your country, but it hits much more closer to home when you're in those homes that your family grew in and that you share core memories in, and yeah, it just feels different.
Oh, definitely, definitely. Making a little transition here, we're going to build upon this and start diving a little bit into your childhood and stuff like that. So, um, talk to me a little bit about like, did you have hobbies? Did you play sports? Like, kind of, how did you like socialize, make friends? Like, what were the things that you were doing?
Growing up, a lot of it was sports. Started off playing soccer. Soccer transitioned into basketball. Basketball became a real big thing throughout middle school. And then from there, I kind of just like when I hit high school, or like right when I finished like middle school, I like did every sport that I could possible, but basketball was the main thing. And then high school, I kind of didn't really play sports my first 2 years. It was like it was very weird. Like I'll try out. It seemed like I wasn't good enough, I guess, in their eyes, and it kind of was just like, all right, like maybe this is it. This is the end of my sports career. I'm time to switch to something else. And my last 2 years of high school, I started playing football, and the thing was like, I didn't really know what football was. Like, my parents weren't gonna tell me what football was. Like, I didn't really know, so I just like I think first saw my first like on TV American football game when I was like in the eighth grade. And even then, like I was just like I'd watch, but I was never really fully interested until like maybe like another year or two later passed by, and I'm just like, I want to play. I like the sport. Like I enjoy watching this. So that was kind of that.
What was your favorite sport growing up? Was it soccer, basketball, or did it become football?
It became football. So like at first it was basketball, and like I really thought like I could do something with it. Like in middle school was like really good, and I was like, oh, maybe I can like transition this to next level, which would be high school. And it kind of just I realized I'm like, all right, maybe this isn't it. And then I took the break, and I was starting to get into football, watching football. And that football became like one of my favorite sports,
What was, like, the
as you can
favorite
see.
part about yeah, I see that. Go Patriots, though. So
Nah.
we're back. We're back. Um, but I know, easy schedule, I get it. But what was your favorite part about football? And, like, how was the learning curve too? Because like, obviously never playing before, but I always say that if you're athletic, once you get some of the technique stuff down, it comes pretty naturally. Like I think most people, if you're an athlete, you can play football. Like there's some technical stuff that takes time, but you could figure it out. So like, how was the learning curve, and like, what did you like about football?
um, it definitely I want to say took me a little bit to learn, and thankfully in high school, I had friends that were on the team, and I was always that one person where like a lot of people could kind of just get along with. So when like they would throw it out there like, yo, you should join the team, you should join the team. And I'm like, I don't know, maybe not this season, maybe next season. And then like I'll say it again. And then I was like, junior year, I was like, all right, man, I'm doing it, I'm joining. And it was cool. Like I enjoy the camaraderie of it. I enjoy the physical aspect of it. And I think it was also like a test for me, like can I do this? Like am I built to keep playing a sport? Am I built to be tough enough, So I think it was like one of those like little things is where I was like trying to like check off the box. So I'm like, can I even do this?
Yeah, I really like that. I think football is like a gritty sport where it forces you to kind of face different aspects of your personality. And I always say that like sports like this or like hockey or where physicality is like a main aspect of the sport, um, really can shape you in different ways because like you're gonna get popped in the mouth. Like it's gonna
Yeah.
happen in football. Like and it's how you respond to that.
Hmm.
How do you respond in the moments where you're down? You could be down 21 nothing right before half. Or like how do you respond in a close game? How do you respond when you're winning? Like when the other team's starting to take cheap shots, like all these different moments. How do you act as a team? Do you have team dinners? How do you relate with your like co-captains or like your or the younger freshmen? Like how do you mentor them? Like there's so many different levels to football where I found that it really shaped me to be the person who I am and have different like core values like hard work, consistency, like those two are fundamentally like a part of who I am. And I don't know if I developed those two like values or traits or habits without football. And it required different levels of me too. Like I'm a short guy. Like I played linebacker, receiver, running back, like and like I was a captain almost every single year. Like I worked my ass off for that stuff. Like and it was always like earned, not given. Like because on paper I shouldn't play the positions that I played. I shouldn't have been starting. I should have been none of that. But like I was in the gym. I worked hard. I showed up and like I did what I was supposed to do. And that's like the cool thing about football, obviously minus politics. Politics plays a huge
Yeah,
role in like
that's everything though.
yeah, it plays a huge role in sports, especially youth sports. But if you do what you're supposed to on paper, like you're gonna play. Like they're gonna put the people who work the hardest, who do the right thing on the field most of the time. You want to hope for that. Um, and I think that can translate a lot of that stuff can translate to real life. There's a lot of things that I've noticed in real life that I can relate to a moment that happened on an athletic field, not even just football. Like I played baseball most of my life too. I played 1 year of basketball. Like there's a lot of things that sports teach you to overcome that you're going to face in the real world. And I think part of the reason I have this section of the podcast is because I think it's very clear between people who've played sports and who haven't played sports. And not like you can't get these different skills through other things, but I think sports really do teach and unite people in a way that it's harder to do in a lot of different other activities or hobbies that people can have. And I mean, that's somewhat biased because I'm a sports guy, but like I think it is moderately true with like the conversations that I've had. Almost a majority of the people that I've talked to have played like youth sports in some level.
No, 100%. Again, like playing football, like even now, like I kind of still fall into the bracket of athlete. Like I do Brazilian jiu jitsu. I feel like that, along with football, has been like two of the greatest like sports that I've been able to partake in that help not shape me physically but mentally as well.
What made you get into jujitsu?
So I started about like I want to say about like 5 years now, 5 years ago, and I actually just got invited by my wife's brother-in-law. He's been doing it for some time, and like I again like hanging out with the football players, like half of those football or like a portion of those football players were wrestlers, and they would invite me to wrestle or like go to like a combat gym with them and stuff like that. So like I've dabbled in that realm of things, and it was cool. It's like that aspect of like all right, like it's either like I'm gonna keep doing it or like I'm gonna walk away and quit, and it's like I can't do that. So he invited me to come check it out and try it out, and I've been doing it ever since.
So you go pretty regularly?
I try to.
Yeah,
There's been, you know, timing, scheduling, injuries, things like that. But for the most part, like if I can get to a class, like right now, I'm training like 2 times a week.
that's awesome.
Yeah,
That's something I've definitely wanted to get into that or boxing or some type of
yeah.
like physical sports. I mean, I still lift. I functionally lift. Like I have a group of guys who've been playing flag football. Like if you're interested in flag football, we always look for players, so we could talk
Rhode
off
Island
podcast.
College intramural champion. I want to say I won it my freshman year. So take that. That was the last time I played any type of
Well, if
football.
you're interested, we could talk off
Maybe
podcast.
we could definitely
Trying to link
definitely
something
see
up.
something.
Yeah, we try to do Sundays and stuff, but um, a few fall winters ago, I pulled my hamstring.
Ah,
I've never had like a major injury before. Like I've had undiagnosed concussions for sure. I've like fractured a pinky and a rib and stuff like that. Like I don't really consider that like super major, but like pulling a muscle like that to this day, it still bothers me. Like And that's kind of been like the thing from like preventing me from wanting to do something like jujitsu or something like that. Cause I'm like, I don't know if I'm flexible with that. I don't know if my hamstring could do it. Like,
So I will say, definitely go for it. Try. I recommend it to everybody. I go to the gym every day. Like I wake up at 5 in the morning and I go to the gym
yeah,
and I do my regular training and now I go on a more functional style. But when it comes to jiu-jitsu, it's not just like you're not just gonna show up and someone's gonna beat the crap out of you. You know, it's the mindset that you come into it. And it's like, all right, if you go in there and be like, hey man, I'm trying this out for the first time, they're gonna show you like, what to do, what not to do, and like help you go through those motions and they want you to come back. They're not gonna beat you up so you can just leave and never come back again. Like no nobody's aiming to do that.
yeah,
They
yeah.
want you to come back because why wouldn't they want you back in the gym to learn this sport and be a part of, you know, their circle and their family and that form of sensibility.
No, that makes sense. And maybe you'll have to send me like the place that you go and like
No,
all that
hundred
stuff.
percent.
I'm kind of interested. You also mentioned waking up in the morning to do like gym like sessions and stuff. Like I wake up at like 5:15, 5:30 and go to the gym and do that. I've been doing that for God. I started. It's fluctuated, but like I've been consistently doing it again for like the last like 2, 3 years. Like just working a real 9 to 5 job. It's just the best time to go because like less people are in there.
Oh yeah.
It's you come home from work after the fact. Like you don't have to go get all your gym stuff. Go work out in a crowded gym. Like because most people aren't going to wake up for it. And trust me, it sucks. Like I
Yeah.
hate it every time I have to wake up in the morning and do it. I hate that. Like, but I like feeling good. I like fitness and like I think it's super important to like take care of your body in certain ways. And um, right now, I'm kind of in like my trying to like maintain best I can. Like I probably gained back a good 7, 8 pounds since the summer because I tried to lose a bunch of weight for Portugal.
Okay.
So like
Yeah, like I'm trying to
yeah,
get ready for the
yeah,
beach.
yeah, I was trying to get right, and now I'm kind of just like cruising, just kind
Yeah.
of getting back to more of like a realistic weight of where I was because like I was this summer, like, I hadn't been that low since, like, COVID. Like, I was locked the fuck in, and to me, that was, like, super important and, like, doing all that stuff, but now I'm kinda just, like, cruising, and once it gets to, like, February, March, I'm gonna lock back in again because 'cause
Yeah.
I'm going to Scotland in,
Oh,
May,
nice.
so,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, so that's kind of, like, my thing, but I mentioned that and, like,
Oh,
big fitness guy, I love waking up well, I
dude.
don't love waking up, but I love working out in the mornings, preferably versus like after work. Way better.
Like I will say, like I'm on the opposite side of that rule where I was a buck 30. I was very small. And ever since I started working out, which I started lifting when I was in high school, uh, when I was in the football. So like my junior year, that's when I started working out, and like that kind of just boosted everything for me. Like that just activated something in my body where like I was hungrier. Like I was trying to push myself in the weight room, and I went from 130 to like 250, and I've been 250 for a while, and I feel like I've shaped myself, and I still work, and I'm still working on trying to find the right shape that I want to be in. But like I would never want to go back to that 130.
Mm.
Like I am happy being that in that two range. My friend has always said, he's like, you got to be two something to do something, and I felt that, especially in the way I move around. So it's cool. I feel like I got there because I worked to get there, and I created this sense of like, all right, I was hitting the gym when my junior year. I went through college. I was working out. I picked up a job at the college gym, so I was even there. So it was easy for me to like clock out, boom, go right into a workout. And then once I got out of college, I was like, all right, I'm still hitting the gym, and like, yeah, till this day, I'm still waking up in the morning, making it happen.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I think fitness is one of those just underrated things that like people don't always focus on because like it's this weird rap with social media and how people interpret fitness and the community and um just you got to move your body, you got to do something
Yeah,
like and
always
I
stay active.
yeah, and just you don't have to eat perfect. It helps if you have specific goals, but like just try to be moderate with like your meals.
Yeah,
Like I think meal prepping is amazing. I think it's super important. I do meal prep for like Monday to Thursday. And I do nothing crazy. It's just ground turkey, some diced tomatoes, some beans, black beans, taco seasoning, and I put hot sauce in it.
yeah.
Sometimes I'll add some cheese or lettuce just to like change it up a little bit. But like if you kind of limit the snacking a little bit and just focus on that, do like smoothies in the morning after I wake up and do my workout, it works. Like the hardest thing is not snacking at night. That's the hardest thing because like you have dinner.
I want something
That's
sweet after this.
yeah, like I'm a big sweet treat guy.
Yeah.
Like everyone knows me.
Oh
Like
man.
Greg's Death by Chocolate Cake. That shit calls
Uh,
my name like no other. Like,
it's tough. It's tough.
but like it's limiting that stuff. If you can limit that stuff, like you're going to be more successful in your fitness endeavor. And I think more people should focus on that. Transitioning a little bit more, getting towards like that senior year of high school, like looking towards graduation, like college is probably on the radar. Like, what do you do? Do you go to college? Do you not go to college? What's your path?
So the thing that my parents always raised me on, they're like, if you're trying to leave, if you're trying to leave the state, if you're trying to go do whatever outside of Rhode Island, education's your only way out. We're not paying for it. Get scholarships. You gotta find your way out because this one's on you. And I took that pretty seriously, and I was just like, all right, like I think I graduated like top 15, of my, and I was like, all right, that's pretty good. Like I'll take it. Like I'm not saying I'm the smartest person. I'm definitely not, but I feel like well enough where I'm like I can get myself somewhere. And um, my dream school was to go to the University of Miami, go Canes. Um, but that didn't work out, and I didn't have the funds myself, so I stayed local and I went to college. And if I were to look back, like if the me that was back in high school transitioned to college would see me where I am now, they would not believe this story because I went for criminal justice. I thought I was going to be a lawyer at one point, and I even interned at a law office, and that slowly transitioned into like I want to be a cop. And yeah, like I here I am. Like I'm not even doing anything of that nature.
How did it feel to like pivot from that? Like the fear of like going for like thinking about law enforcement, criminal justice, all that stuff to kind of where you are. Like how do you make that transition?
It was one of those things where I realized like, all right, this I'm not if I don't feel it in me where I'm like, damn, like if I don't have the love for it anymore, I shouldn't force myself to do it. And even then, like I did security for like 10 years. Like I enjoyed doing security and like that aspect of that umbrella of law enforcement and being in that realm, and it was fun. But when I realized and I've tried it, like it's not like I didn't attempt it or I didn't go for it. Um, it just didn't work out. And there was some limitations as to why it didn't work out, and it was what it was. And I was just like, all right, like I think it's time for me to transition. And at that point, it's not like I figured out that like, oh yeah, like I want to be, a videographer or like do something with a camera or anything of that nature. It's just like, all right, like I'm gonna find a job that makes sense and go from there. And like, life will take me where it needs to take me.
That's I like that. And I like that you're willing to make that change too. Like it might have been scary, it might have been difficult, it might have been all those things. It might have been easy, but like being willing to kind of go lean into something that is different than what you've been doing is super hard or just making that change. I did a whole episode recently before my birthday reflection about how change is inevitable. Like I kind of hit a point in like my own like career where like I'd been this place like pretty much since like I moved back and created the podcast. It was like hand in hand. Like I created the podcast, got this job. Like COVID had like it was pretty much like second half of my 20s was like at this place. I'd gone through a lot of stuff at this place and it was hard to leave. It was the longest I've been at a job, like especially in like the like 9 to 5 world, and I liked my coworkers and stuff like that. And you get close to these people by default. You're spending a lot of time with them and creating these relationships and like actually like feeling for them when they have loss and stuff in their life. And like you have to like you want to step up and cover for them because like you'd hope someone would do that for you. And having that ability to do that is like super like valuable in like a team setting, relating even back to like sports. But you get to a place where like change just has to happen. Like otherwise you're not going to grow. You're going to stay in the same situation doing the same thing, and you don't want to be in that place. Like you don't want to be in the same spot you were in like 5, 10 years ago, like doing the same thing with the same people. It's not fulfilling. And maybe some people might enjoy that, but like I don't think most do, and I think the longer that you do stay in those situations, it kind of eats at your ambition and eats at your actual drive and motivation to like succeed in life. And it's sad to sometimes see people give up on like their dreams and passions. And obviously sometimes you have to because like life gets in the way and you have to,
Sacrifices need to be made sometimes.
yeah, you have to do that. That's real life. And um but it just doesn't take away from the sadness you might feel for someone having to do that. Cause like I think everything being equal, like I wish people could do their passions or do what they're passionate about and like make a living or have a living to support that to go do that. Cause I think in some way or like in like some way everyone's trying to help other people do something or help people in some way or fashion. Like I do a podcast and connect with people, and I feel like having conversations like and promoting like what you do and why you do can help people, just like you might be feeling that what you do for your work helps people in documenting what you talk about like weddings and stuff or whatever it may be. Like it helps people that you're capturing some of their most precious moments and when you do something like that. So like you're helping people. And I think everyone that I've talked to on this podcast can relate to that aspect. So hearing you talk about making that change really actually resonates because I have been going through like active change right now. So that's like kind of like a fundamental piece of kind of the shit that I'm going through lately. But I'm interested, how did you figure out to like pick up a camera and start like getting into this stuff?
So that I can thank my wife. Um, she's a photographer, and as we've been together for 7 years now, and when we first started out, this kind of goes back into college where I was doing graphic design on the side. So I was doing flyers and like little posters for my friends that worked at bars or like for events. So I was a part of a fraternity, so I was like helping with the flyers for our events and things of that nature. And so I kind of did that while in college, and then it kind of just stopped. And then when I was like explaining to my wife, my girlfriend at the time, I was just like, hey, like I these are like hobbies that I picked up, and like I have like this creative side to me. She was just like, all right, continue that. If you like to do it, why not continue? And she was kind of like the first person that has like encouraged me to do it. Like she was just like, hey, like if this is something you enjoy, that this is something you want to continue to do, I support it, and let me know how I can help you to achieve that. And that was like the first time I ever got that from someone on that side of like having a relationship with someone being like that supportive. And that went from, me going back into graphic design. And then from there she was just like, hey, like, why don't you pick up a camera? Like, why don't you buy a camera and, maybe you can help me out, doing weddings and stuff. And then I started from there. And then that kind of quickly transitions like, have you ever thought about doing video? And I'm just like, yeah, like I feel like I resonate a little bit more with like the video side of the world than photo. And then from there, it was just like, boom, like I was like, this feels right. Like I can see myself doing this. Like I can make this like a career, like not just a hobby, but a career. So thanks to my wife, I'm doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah, that's awesome that she was able to help motivate you and encourage you to start something like that. And having someone like that by your side that's like willing to do that and able to do that, that's a blessing in itself.
No,
Like,
100%.
because I mean, the way that this culture is, especially like I'm lucky to have my fiance now and she really supports what I do. I mean, she was the editor to my book. Like she was a big believer in like
That's awesome.
what I do, and like she supports the podcast, and like obviously she's here and she's like doing her stuff. But I know that like doing a podcast like also takes up time on like her Friday night or her Saturday, and like that she's willing to support and give me the space to still do this. Like having someone that can support your dreams, you can't put a price on that. And
No,
I really hope and encourage that people can find that, because once you do have that, it makes chasing your passion so much easier when you got someone that really rocks with you and that can pour into you in a way that like your wife does or my fiance does. Like not everyone is lucky to experience that type of love or that type of motivation to want to do it too. When you
yeah,
have someone supporting you, you also want to like succeed not only for yourself but like to make them proud because they're also invested in some way. So I mean, it's really cool to have people that believe in you in that
no,
aspect.
no, 100%.
I think I do want to ask too, when you were starting out, how difficult was it to kind of launch, like, because you're kind of creating a business here. So like, how do you kind of market yourself and promote yourself in an industry where there's a lot of competition? So like, how is that for you overcoming that at first?
It was a little tough. I ain't gonna lie. Like it's one of those things where it's like I ain't go to I ain't go to school for this. I didn't have this in the back of my brain being like, oh, this was gonna be my backup plan. Like, no, like this is what I'm transitioning to. This is my only plan, and this feels right, so I'm sticking it through. Like I'm gonna make this happen. Like this is gonna work, or it's gonna work. So it's one of those things where it's like, all right, like the same way anybody would, like starting doing stuff for free, building my portfolio, showing what I can do, figuring things out. YouTube University, you know what I'm saying? Like learning all on my own, but also with the help of my wife. So from there, it was just like again, I was doing stuff for free. Then I was charging like $100 for something that would cost close to 1,000. And I'm like, hey, like, and I'd be upfront with people, like, hey, like, I'm doing this because like I'm trying to learn. So like if you help me, I help you. So it was very understanding. Like I would never play it off like, hey, like I've been doing this for a long time, or I know what I'm doing. Like no, like so I built myself up from that, and from there, once I got more credibility and I learned and I got more confidence in what I was doing, obviously things transitioned up and I started making money off of it.
That's awesome, and that you're taking like the actual like appropriate steps to like further yourself, like in doing what you're supposed to do and not trying to take shortcuts. Like, I think a lot of people when they enter any type of industry in terms of whether it's a business or content, that we want to skip steps naturally as humans, that we want to figure out ways to like what's the quickest way from A to B and or A to Z, and they want to skip over a few letters and get to G, and then you get closer and closer, but like you have to go A B C D, and like you have to go through the motions, and like some of those transition periods are going to be faster than others depending on what happens. Sometimes it's luck, sometimes it's talent, sometimes it's anything, but it starts with like kind of how we started this, like the belief, the motivation, the desire to be passionate about something and learn. Learning is a huge piece of any type of like endeavor that you have, is being willing to learn and start as a beginner. Like if you're not willing to suck at something, you're probably never going to succeed at it, because like you have to be willing to be bad. Like, and even hearing you talk about like starting football or like getting into this, I can imagine in the beginning it was probably kind of hard.
Oh, dude, it was tough.
And
It
like,
sucked.
yeah, exactly. And then like when I if I listen back to like some of these beginning podcasts, like I cringe a little bit. I'm like, oh, like why do I sound like I'm so like eager? I'm so on top of it. Like the quality doesn't sound that good. And I'm like beating myself up on that when like it's supposed to sound like that or it's
Yeah,
supposed to look like that.
100%.
And not enough of us give us the grace period to figure that out. It's a season of learning. Like you said, like doing stuff for free, like building your portfolio. That's super important in the industry that you're specifically in. And like you were willing to do that when many others aren't. So like, I mean, credit to yourself for like wanting to do that. And like, what do you think like maybe what are some of like the moments or like a moment that you were like kind of like proud that like you're kind of like actually doing this?
So I will say, just to double back on what you
Yeah.
were just saying, I say this all the time. I say this to my friends. I say this to anybody that I feel like needs to hear it. Complacency is a disease. If you're just complacent with what you got, and even though you tell yourself like, yeah, I want to do more, I want to improve, I want to get, level up, but you're not doing anything to change that, that's a problem. You're just gonna stay there forever. And that's the mindset of, you know, you and your podcast progressing, leveling that up the same way I'm trying to level up my work. And to answer your question, I feel like the thing is, so essentially my boss in this realm of weddings and anything couples related is my wife. And there's like there's a fine line. Like there's times where I have my wife, and then there's times where I have my boss, who just so happens to be my wife. And I feel like one of those moments where I knew I was doing something right or going in the right direction is anytime I put a wedding video together, she has to sign off on it. Rightfully so. I totally get it. She's been in this industry for very long. She knows what needs to be there, what doesn't, all that. So I would always give her the videos, and I would always kind of like I kind of didn't want to be there. Like I didn't like I'd be like, yo, like watch it. Like I'd walk away. Like I just didn't want to see. Like I knew I felt like it wasn't perfect, or like I knew like there's maybe something like. Of course, I'd be like, hey, I got notes for you. Like you need to change these things, get these things done. We'll come back to it. But after a while, me realizing and kind of finding my rhythm and knowing what I wanted, that once the first time I knew I got it right, like I knew I hit this one out the park, and I like I stood there and I watched the video with her, and she was impressed, and that right there was like a key moment for me. I'm like, all right, like I'm here, like I'm doing this, like if she's impressed, I'm in a good set, you know.
Yeah, I love that. I love hearing that. Like, I think there's been like handfuls of moments where, like, in a podcast, like it's just like flowing and like things are going. I'm like, it's like, dude, I'm really doing this. Like, even like, I mean, I'm kind of doing it right now. Or like, kind of like self like realization moment where it's like 226, like 6 years doing this. We're technically in year seven, like cranking away, or technically still in year six. We'll be entering year seven next year. Uh, no, yeah, this is year seven. Jeez, like,
Time flies when you're having fun.
dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, the goal was always like it started off. "Well, I gotta get 100 episodes, hit 100 episodes. Well, first it was, for being real, like it was hit 10 episodes, because like the standard in podcasting back then was like most people never make it past 10 episodes, and like I was like, I'm gonna beat that. I'm gonna beat that, and I beat it pretty easily. And then COVID happened, and I always shout out my cousins for this, but we created a mini series during COVID called The Quarantine Connection, and it was like 5 episodes, and we talked about nothing. It was like fucking Tiger King, Tom Brady leaving the Patriots. It's like a bunch of like random stuff that was happening at the time,
Yeah.
but like because it was like everyone was like trying to create bubbles and all that other stuff, but they I always credit them for helping me in that moment, because if I don't create that mini series to like work the muscle of podcasting, I don't know if we're even here doing this. I don't know if I write a book. I don't know if any of this stuff happens if I don't keep working at it. And the more that I've done it, like, you get lost in those moments where like I've had a handful of people like actually like cry on the podcast when they're talking about like their life and stuff, or something that's happened, and the fact that they like felt comfortable enough in the space that I've kind of created to like share that. I was like, come on, I'm doing something. Like, I feel like I'm actually like providing more than like just a content or a video for someone. Like, I'm actually providing like a real conversation for someone that clearly might have needed that in the moment, or just to have someone there to that wants to listen or believes in their vision or their passion too. And I think having those moments within your content, your business or whatever, is super vital to like the longevity of how you could do something. And also having like your wife by your side to do that probably adds to that in some levels. And I think that's super awesome. I'm interested to know how the content like change, where you started to start looking at social media and like recording for people and doing your own content. Like, how does that kind of start happening? And before we get into that, I'm gonna change my camera because my thing disconnected and we're back. Typically don't have to do that, but for some reason my Wi-Fi off that thing,
You're good.
so I gotta figure that thing out. But yeah, you can take the floor with that question.
So pretty much, I was kind of looking at everything, and like that's the thing. Like my wife, she does a lot of stuff outside of weddings. She photographs couples, she photographs kids, like families. So she does like all these things, and I'm kind of like, all right, like I can't just do only weddings, or like wedding stuff related. Like I want to be able to do stuff that I also enjoy, because I do enjoy, filming couples, and capturing like their raw love and emotion, and getting that email back saying like, hey, we love this video, like we saw it together, like all that stuff. Like I enjoy that. That's something that I will continue to do, and I enjoy partaking in it. But I was also like, what can I do that I'm like that I can do myself, that I'm like, all right, I don't need to be with her to do it. Like I should be able to do stuff on my own. And that's kind of when I was like, all right, what do I enjoy doing? And from there, it kind of transitioned into I did some freelance sports video at Brown University. So I was able to get videos of like their basketball team, both men and women, their soccer, men and women, and women's volleyball. And I was just like, cool, like this is something I've always wanted to be a part of. Um, and then even there, I was just like, I had friends in nightlife because I worked in nightlife, so I was able to do like highlight videos of my DJ friends, and then from there, I was kind of like, how do I keep this ball rolling? Like, I can turn this into some type of business, and from there, I was like, all right, like I can offer stuff to businesses and individuals, and I kind of just had to push myself and find my rhythm and do the same thing that I've been doing with couples, but just outside of that realm.
I love hearing that and like being able to just discover that and being willing to like actually like I enjoy doing this. Like I want to keep figuring it out and going with it. When did it start to turn where you were like, I want to start making my own content? Because like obviously you tagged me in the reel and stuff. We're coming full circle a little bit. Um, when did this shift kind of start happening where you started to really focus on like you as a brand versus like documenting for other people?
So I think when I started doing like the sports and like the other videos for like my friends in nightlife, or certain little tidbits of like I was doing like editing videos on my own of like sports highlights and stuff like that, and I'm just like, all right, I can't really post this on my wedding page, or this is very geared towards you know love and a specific genre of videos that I'm like, I can't just mix in something that's completely different or opposite. So I'm like, all right, I got to create a whole new page. This is going to be directed towards everything I do outside of that realm. And from there, I was kind of like, all right, like people kind of need to know who I am. Like, how to, like, you're not just going to take me serious if you don't know who I am. Like, I need to put myself in front of the camera. And I think from there, that's kind of was like, all right, like, I got to be that person. I got to be in front of the camera. I can't be behind the camera anymore. Like, people need to see who I am and show them that, like, this is legit. Like, I'm doing this. Like, I'm a real person. You can come to me. If you're a business, you're an individual, you want to make content, like, I can be that person to help you.
I love that. It's you're being more personable too. Like obviously when you're the person behind the camera, all you're sharing typically is like your work. And like people don't always get to see the personality behind the camera until they're actually being like having their pictures taken by you and you're interacting with them and having the conversations in real time. So like I think it is important, especially for anyone in type of like content to like get your face out there and let people hear your voice. And that's kind of like my own self critique a little bit too, where on my podcast page, I typically don't post about myself because for me, I don't want my platform to be about me. I don't care like if people aren't always tuning back in or don't know who like I am as a host. Like I don't want it to be about me. I want it to be about my guests and highlighting the cool things that other people do. I've gotten better at taking stuff that like said on podcasts and putting it out on TikTok and stuff. Like I think I have like 50K on TikTok that I gained from like 2020 and stuff like that. So like a lot of the views have changed. It was like sad boy content back then. And now I do like my podcast clips and stuff like that. But getting my face out there and like pushing that content was moderately difficult at first, but like once you get comfortable behind a camera, like this is it's nothing for me. I mean, I've done this over 200 times. Like
Yeah.
this is like another day for me. And like
uh,
obviously now that you've been doing content and stuff, it's like you get comfortable like in the space once you're like kind of doing it. Long form's a little different, but like once you're flowing, you're flowing. It's there ain't nothing different. Like
no.
sometimes we break the third wall. It's like, hey, we're on a podcast, but like most of the time, it's me and the guest or me and you having a conversation and being
Yeah, yeah.
real. So we are getting towards the back end of the conversation, and I'm going to start wrapping up. I do have that one question for you at the end about passions, but like I mentioned off podcast, is there anything that you wanted to talk about or hit on before we start wrapping things up?
I think you mentioned it. I'm on like a 365 challenge, and that's kind of like how I also got into it. Where I'm like, what can I put out there outside of stuff that I already do? And it's kind of like blending so people could see like I do have a professional side, but I also want you to see behind that curtain of like I have my own life, I do my own things, and I feel like people like seeing that. And I was just like, all right, how do I like what do I do to get myself there? And like talking it with some of my friends, I was just like, I'm just gonna post a video for the next year every day. I was like, I know my life's not that super interesting, but I feel like I do something at least once a day that can be recorded where people would like to see. And I'm at two something right now. and honestly, I didn't even think I was gonna make it past 100. So I have something very special to kind of full circle moment for 365. But it's honestly it's been fun. It's been cool. Like I feel like being able to put out like people like to see. Like I'm surprised. Like at first I was like, oh, like it is what it is. Whatever happens, happens. And people have been able to reach out and say how much they enjoy it, and I feel like that just helps everything kind of keep going forward.
Yeah, I think, and when you put a challenge behind it, I think people can one rally behind it, and I think it's anyone can watch it from afar. Like even if they're not super interactive with like liking or sharing whatever or commenting on the videos, because everyone always ghost watches. But like they're watching nonetheless. Cause like people are interested in when if you're doing challenges or if you see someone doing like a 30-day like mile challenge, like you might not comment or reply to the fact they're doing it, but like on some level
You're checking to see
you're
if it's going
checking.
on. Yeah.
Yeah. You're still checking and like I think that's interesting. Do you find it difficult to come up with a video every day?
There's been moments where like life gets in the way, and I'm just like, oh snap! Like I didn't post anything yet, or I don't have anything prepared. So I try to, and that's the thing too. I made it where it's just like I'm not spending one day and making 10 videos and I'm like, all right, cool. Like no, like what you see is because I did it that day, or at least I had the idea the night before. Like it's all happening in real time for the most part, unless like there's some videos because like I've been traveling a lot and like I'll use the content that I filmed traveling to post, and like sometimes that takes up a couple days. But for the most part, whatever you see, it's either it got filmed and edited that day, or like the idea was there within those 24 hours.
That's cool though. I like the fact that you're doing it and like consistently sticking to it. And I think you're gonna be super proud of yourself once you get to that 365 and get to share the content that you're kind of working on for that. And nothing's better than working on something like that and then finally getting to that goal. Like not like this is like similar, but like even just like how I like came up with the book and stuff like that. Like finally getting to that end product. There's nothing like that. Or when you finally hit that 365, you're gonna feel proud that you're able to consistently stick to something, or someone who does something like gym thing or whatever, running a mile for 30 days or whatever challenge. If you can actually stick to it and like accomplish it, it's worth it because it's probably going to somewhat continue after it's done too, because that momentum is real and like you're not going to want to lose that momentum. So I'm excited to see what 365 is going to look like for you and the fact that you're still chipping away at this, and I think it's cool. I like that you're willing to do this and kind of put yourself out there and keep going.
100.
Yeah, so now we'll kind of bring it back home and I'll do that last question for you. So Christian, what would your advice be for someone who wants to pursue their passion?
Like I said, complacency is a disease. You either got two options. You either be the person and do what you say you're gonna do and be remembered by everyone, or you fall back and let somebody else take it and they be remembered forever. That's kind of just how I live my life. Do I want to be remembered for what I said I was gonna do, or am I just gonna take a seat back and let somebody else do it?
Perfect. I like that. It's taking control of your life, and I think even what you're doing right now is a perfect example of that. Like metaphorically and just realistically, like going from being the person recording other people's moments to taking charge and being behind the camera and showing your personality and not letting just like your work define you in that aspect. Like you are the work. Like, and I think that's cool. Like I look at my podcast, like it's an embodiment of all the cool collection of stories and conversations, but at the end of the day, like it's still it's mine. Like like I have to represent that and be the brand, like representing that or the name on the book. Like got my name on a book. Like I have to represent that, and that carries me forward. It's like I'm a podcaster, I'm an author. Like having those titles like is important to me, and like working on that craft and identifying myself as like someone people could like recognize in the community and stuff like that. I think it's cool to see someone like yourself, like minded, that's willing to put themselves out there and keep chasing after that passion. But Christian, I appreciate you coming on this podcast and sharing your story with me and talking about your business.
Well, thank you for having me. I really do appreciate it.
Absolutely. So if you want to look into this camera, let everyone know where they can find you.
Uh, Again, I'm on all most platforms. Instagram, you can look me up at Ceelo where you at. That's CEELO where you at. I just launched a new website that I built myself. It kind of falls under the umbrella of my main brand, which is CLP the label. So clpthelabel.com. Just launched my new website. You can see everything that I do, and yeah, feel free to check it out.
Perfect. And I'll tag you and everything and we'll go from there. So for you guys, if you guys like the podcast, please rate, review, subscribe, share with your friends, share with your family, share with your grandma. Check it out, thecarrollconnection.simplecast.com. Also available Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the major listening platforms. If you'd like to watch your podcast, go on YouTube, search The Carroll Connection or Jared M. Carroll, and it'll pop up for you. And if you want to be a guest or return as a guest, hit me up on Instagram at Jared M. Carroll or at The Carroll Connection. We'll set that up, as well as plugging the 5 Pillars to Creating a Meaningful Life, only available on Amazon. If you buy the book and you read it and you like it, submit the review on Amazon. It goes a long way in the algorithm. So, till next time, guys, peace.